titled this, Who Did You See Today? You know, even in all of our busyness and even in all the things that we've got going on, don't forget that there are people out there who are hurting, who just need a kind word from you, who need a smile. You know, there are a lot of people that this may be the first year they've spent without a loved one. Maybe I have friends that way. I have friends who have lost children this year. I have friends who have lost a spouse this year. I have friends who have lost parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and friends. You know, sometimes those friends that we lose are closer than a family member. And so you've got all of these people who might be hurting. So be mindful as you're going about your day, as you're going about your routines this month. And, you know, just take a minute. As I was doing this Bible study, it's 5 Habits of a Woman Who Doesn't Quit by Nikki Koziarz. And it just talks about how we need to be resilient, how we need to really follow through on things that we're doing. And I will say that the only way to fail in life is to quit. And so whatever it is you're doing, the only way to fail is to quit. And so as long as you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, as long as you just keep doing the next one right thing, you're not going to fail. It may take you longer than other people. It may be slower than you like, but you are going to keep going. And that's what this is talking about. It's based on the book of Ruth. It's 5 Habits of a Woman Who Doesn't Quit. And I just want to kind of give you the highlights. Habit 1, she accepts the assignment of refinement. And so sometimes we're going through things, and it's because God is trying to purify something in us. You know, there may be some little something. Hey, Jason. Hey, Pam. Thanks for watching with me. Hey, Jay. Hey, Dina. Thanks for hopping on here. But she accepts the assignment of refinement. Sometimes we go through different things in life, and it's because God is trying to buff some things out of us. You know, it's just like silver is refined in the fire. You know, we have to walk through these things sometimes, things we may not understand, hardships, trials, storms. But a lot of times God is purifying something within us. Maybe we have some bitterness, like Naomi did. She, when she went back to Jerusalem, you know, the people were talking to her, and she said, "Don't call me Naomi. My name is Mara," and that's bitter. She was bitter, and sometimes that unforgiveness will lead to bitterness, and it just is a spiral. And so sometimes God has to send us through these things to buff that out of us. So she accepts an assignment of refinement. She follows through with her commitments despite how she feels. So regardless, when you get up and maybe you don't feel like being kind that day, be kind anyway. You know, you follow through with your commitments. So no matter how you feel, you get up and you just do the thing. Sometimes, you know, my mama friends are like, "I don't feel like being a mama today," but you just get up and you do it anyway. Habit 3, she stays open to the movement of God. So even when you don't understand, you are guided by God, and you're open to what He's doing, and you're even looking like, God, where is your activity today, and where can I participate in your activity? So she's open to the movement of God. She gives others what she needs. It's called emotional generosity, and I'm going to come back to this in a few minutes and just kind of expound on that. And then she moves forward in faith. So even when you can't see, you know, on down the road, you're just taking it one step at a time, trusting God for that next step. And sometimes that's scary. Sometimes that step of faith is scary, but you're just taking it. You're just doing that one step. And so also this week, as I thought about all of those things, I was listening to a podcast by Ed Milet this week, and I think it was actually from last week, but I just listened to it on Monday. But he was interviewing Kevin Hines, and I'll put the link to this because it was so powerful. But Kevin was someone who is a suicide survivor. He went through this horrible time, and at the age of 19, he tried to, he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge to end his life. And it didn't work. God had other plans for him. But he shares his story, things he was thinking, what made him do that. And, for somebody who has had suicide in their family, a lot of times it just leaves us with a lot of questions. And you're thinking, what could I have done differently? How could I have changed things? But this man, as he's telling his story, he talks about riding a bus to the Golden Gate Bridge. And he's on that bus with 100 other people. And he's sitting at the back of the bus and he's crying. Like it's not just a little simple tear rolling down his face as he's contemplating what he's about to do and why he's gotten to this point. I don't want to go into all of that. I would rather you go listen to this podcast. But he talks about how all these people on this bus, and he says at one time, he's like wailing. It's not a quiet, it's a sob. He is sobbing, and all of these people, and not one person sees him. A lot of people are looking at him, but nobody sees him. Nobody stops to ask, hey, man, are you okay? Like, nobody takes a minute. There's one man that ridicules him, but nobody stops and sees him. And so I just encourage you today. People want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. And so as we're going about our busyness through this season, will you just take the time to see people? Not just look at them or look through them, but take a moment just to see them. Take a moment and ask them, are you okay? And before you jump to conclusions and jump to assumptions, can you be emotionally generous in this season? I went to, I think it was Home Depot today. I made several stops today while I was in Columbus, and one of those was at Home Depot. And when I pulled into the parking spot, I couldn't really see what was there. But as I pulled into this parking spot, there was a buggy that was for kids. So it was a buggy, that had the steering wheel seat on it, and I thought, man, why didn't somebody put this seat up, put this buggy up, I couldn't pull all the way into the parking spot. And if I had, I would have pushed the buggy into another car. So I was kind of, maybe out of the parking spot about like that. And for a split moment, I was like, why didn't that person put their buggy up? And then I thought about this, and I thought, you know what? What if it had been a mama with twin babies, and she was by herself, and she's frazzled trying to get things ready for family coming into town, and she put those babies in the car, and because she was by herself, she was like, I can't leave my babies in the car while I put this buggy up. And so I don't even know who this person was. But right then and there, I made the decision that I'm going to be emotionally generous with this person and give them some grace. And I put the buggy up for them. And then as I came out, there was one of the scooter buggies that was in front of my car. And for a split second, I thought, why didn't they put this back? And then I thought, you know what? Maybe they were by themselves. Maybe they couldn't walk from their car to put the buggy up, and they just had to leave this buggy right here, this scooter. Instead of jumping to conclusions and just really not being kind, can we just take a moment in this season and be emotionally generous? And you might say, Michelle, what is that? What is being emotionally generous? Well, it's giving other people what you need. And so maybe you need a little more kindness. Maybe you need a little more grace. Hey, Kim, thanks for watching. It was good to see you today. Maybe you need just a little helping hand. Whatever it is that you need, give that to other people. And I thought about, what this man had said, people seeing him. It says, emotional generosity is one of the hardest forms of kindness to give. But if we can just be emotionally generous with somebody else, it's using emotional intelligence. It's responding instead of reacting. It's thinking about, in this situation, what can I give to that other person instead of reacting negatively? What can I give to them? Can I give them a little kindness? Can I give them a little grace? You know, it's not, it's shifting our perspective. You know, it's not giving that quick comeback. It's not being unforgiving. It's not having a nasty look. It's not frowning at them. It's what if I just offer them a smile and I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. I can see that you're stressed out. I hope that you you know, can see the positive in all of this busyness. Maybe it's you need to give them a little grace. Maybe if they are short with you, maybe you just respond with a smile and say, I'm sorry. You know, a lot of times if we just say that, if we just say, hey, I'm sorry. You know, I didn't mean to, you know, cut in front of you. I didn't mean to, you know, whatever it is. Just be kind and you take the high road. A lot of times that's what they need to shift their perspective to. And it will help us have a better day and a brighter outlook as well. You know, it's one of those things. And at the end of this chapter, she says, you know, what do you need? Do you need a financial blessing? Be a financial blessing. Do you need a friendship? Be a friend. Do you need a kind word? Then offer kind words. Do you need a cheerleader? Then be a cheerleader of others. And so, you know, what do you need in life? Then be that for other people and be emotionally generous. You know, it's having that shift and responding instead of reacting. It's being above the line instead of below the line. You know, a few weeks ago I was in the bank and I try to smile at people. I don't always do that. And I've had people, you know, if I'm on a mission in a store, I'm generally not going to be smiling. I'm going to be, you know, I've got my daddy's straight looking face. You know, I can't do it right now because I'm thinking about that. And I've had people go, hey, it's not that bad. Why don't you smile? And then I realize, hey, I'm on a mission, you know, and I've got this straight face. But as I was coming out of the bank the other day, there was probably 5 people in line. I do like to go inside and see the tellers face to face. And I guess I'm kind of like my pawpaw. He used to go to the bank every day just so he could say hey to people. But I was coming out and I looked at each person there and I smiled at them. This man at the very back, he looked at me and he said, thank you. I needed that smile. And so, you know, be emotionally generous in this season. It didn't take me 5 seconds to smile at each person in that line, but it changed that one man's perspective on the day. And so I just want you to think about, as we're going through this busy season, who do you need to see? And who do you need to hear? You know, a lot of times we hear people, but we're not listening. Make it a point every day when you're praying to start your day. Ask God, who do I need to see today? And who do I need to listen to? And then put that into action.